Mean spirited.
What makes you so hostile?
2020 meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Jenkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Reddick?
Yes.
Councilmember Little?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Mayor Draper?
Yes.
Let's come to order then. I will declare a quorum established by virtue of the vote on the motion to reconvene. At this time, I will move to amend the agenda to include the resolution wherein we're declaring a state of emergency within the city of Anniston. Is there a second?
Second.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Jenkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Reddick?
Yes.
Councilmember Little?
Dragging, yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Mayor Draper?
Yes, the agenda is adopted. Our only matter to consider tonight is this emergency declaration motion, and I am going to read it in its entirety. This is declaring a state of emergency within the city of Anniston, whereas President Trump has declared a national state of emergency based on the impact of COVID-19 becoming a pandemic event, and whereas Governor Ivey has also declared a state of emergency as relates to COVID-19 in the state of Alabama, and whereas Governor Ivey has also proclaimed the existence of conditions that warrant implementation of additional extraordinary measures and relief, including deviations from certain requirements of the Open Meeting Act and laws governing competitive bidding on contracts. Whereas the Council for the City of Anniston, on advice of emergency management personnel, determines to immediately take further action in this emergency circumstance on a continuing basis to address the COVID-19 impacts on our city and community, and to further declare a state of emergency in the city of Anniston, Alabama, and whereas it is vital that city emergency management personnel and other city departments are authorized to expend city funds for additional personnel, supplies, and equipment as needed so that action can be taken without delay to protect the lives and the safety of our residents and visitors to our city, whereas COVID-19 poses a serious public health risk to our city stemming from it being a novel respiratory disease impacting our city services, utility services, schools, businesses, and industries. And whereas the extent and level of impact from COVID-19 cannot be determined at present, and city departments need the authority and funding to react promptly and without delay at this critical time. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Anniston, Alabama, that it hereby declares a state of emergency in the City of Anniston, Alabama, and does hereby appoint and declare the mayor and city manager to be the directors of the city's emergency management, and does confer upon the mayor and city manager and their delegates the authority and responsibility for the organization, administration, and operation of the city's emergency management efforts and functions. The mayor and city manager are specifically authorized and empowered to do the following: to appropriate and expend funds, make contracts, obtain and distribute equipment, materials, and supplies for emergency management purposes, to provide for the health and safety of persons and property, including emergency assistance, and to direct and coordinate the development of emergency management plans and programs in accordance with policies and plans set by the federal and state emergency management agencies, to appoint, employ, remove, or provide with or without compensation such emergency management personnel as may be required, to establish a primary and one or more secondary control centers to serve as command posts as may be needed, to assign and make available for duty the employees, property, or equipment of the city relating to firefighting, engineering, rescue, health, medical, and related service, police, transportation, construction, and similar items or services for emergency management purposes within or outside of the physical limits of the city, to waive procedure and formalities otherwise required by law pertaining to the performance of public work, entering into contracts, the incurring of obligations, the employment of temporary workers, the utilization of volunteer workers, the rental of equipment, the purchase and distribution with or without compensation of supplies, materials, and facilities, and the appropriation and expenditure of public funds, and to close any and all public buildings owned or leased by and under the control of the city where emergency conditions warrant. Be it further resolved, in consideration of the concerns for public health and safety, the continued operations of the city and governing body, and the right of the public to open conduct of government, the council hereby adopts, authorizes, and proclaims the following. The mayor is authorized and empowered to call, hold, and conduct regular and special meetings of the council by means of telephone conference, video conference, or other similar communications equipment, provided, one, any deliberation conducted or action taken during the meeting is limited to matters within the council's statutory authority. That is A, necessary to respond to COVID-19, or B, necessary to perform essential minimal functions of the governing body. Two, the communications equipment allows all persons participating in the meeting to hear one another at the same time. And three, a summary of the meeting, including deliberations conducted and actions taken, is posted on the city's website within 12 hours following the conclusion of the meeting. The mayor is authorized and empowered to call, hold, and conduct regular and special meetings of the council in person, provided a quorum is physically present at the meeting, subject to reasonable notice, and in such instances, the council hereby suspends and removes all awards and recognitions, public hearings, informal public comments, formal public comments, and council comments from the agenda until such time that the council resolves to end the state of emergency within the city of Anniston as declared herein. Be it further resolved that the council hereby authorizes and empowers the mayor and city manager and their delegates to exercise such further rights and powers as Governor Ivey may subsequently confer upon local political subdivisions by proclamation, order, or decree pursuant to the Alabama Emergency Management Act of 1995, or otherwise in response to the state of emergency within the state of Alabama and the city of Anniston. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall take immediate effect upon its passage and adoption, passed and adopted on this, the 18th day of March 2020. Just in preface to this, I mean, I think that this resolution is in keeping with recommendations by the Alabama League of Municipalities, in keeping with the proclamation just issued today by Governor Ivey, and also I think it also honors our former government. So with that, I will call for a motion for passage and adoption.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Council discussion.
I'd like to I'd like to offer an amendment. I'd like to remove the language, removing public comments from the agenda.
Second.
Okay. That the Reddick amendment has been made and seconded. Council discussion.
I cannot imagine not putting public health and safety above anything else that is primary right now. It is the most important thing that we can do. I cannot imagine not prolonging these meetings or doing anything to put the public in jeopardy. I will not support this.
Well, I think that 3 minutes of public comment time is not like we're Cinderella, got this Cinderella ball, that's what you call it, and we're going to turn it into a pumpkin act in 3 minutes. If we don't get out of here in 3 minutes, we're going to change it to a pumpkin or something. I'm concerned about, in the mentioning of emergency, that we're just going to wipe away the public rights. If it gets so bad, then I think we can address that. But the public, in the midst of all this that is happening, the public should have a right to state for a few minutes. If it gets out of control, we can do something. But they should be, if they're going to sit here while we jaw-jack and lip flap, then we should give them the opportunity to say something for a few minutes that they may have a concern with. We're trying to calm them and keep them sort of peaceful also as we work through these trying times in which we're in. So just, it's an emergency, just everything is shut up. Y'all can't make any comments. I don't think it's prudent, nor do I think it's right.
I'll never support a situation where the government decides to silence the people in any level of appearance, no matter what you want to call it, to take people's right to speak. If they choose to come in here and be in this meeting and follow the guidelines to be safe, and they choose to speak, I think they have a right. And then the worst thing we can do is put the public in a situation where they're worried or scared or anything else, and they have a desire to speak, and we tell them, no, you can't speak because we decided that, we're more important than you are. We were elected by the people, we were put in position by the people, and the people deserve to be heard if they decide to come out here and speak. I will never support silencing the public or the people that put us in office to be voice for them. Thank you.
I would say I appreciate both sides of this conversation. I think that the health, safety, and welfare of the public is the paramount issue here. I would argue that we're not silencing the public. We're all accessible. My cell phone's on the website. I mean, I'm easy to reach. I answer the phone when you call if I'm not in a meeting. And if I am, I'll call you back. And pretty much anybody that's ever tried to reach me can confirm that. We are the mouthpiece of the people we represent, and we need to continue to be that. These are unique times that we are in right now, and I think that, when you don't know if you've got it or not, you can carry it for 10 days without knowing. Somebody can be in here with the absolute best of intentions and infect everybody in the room. It doesn't make, until we get it to a situation where we feel like there's some level of control in what's going on, we need to take the extreme precautions necessary to ensure the safety, not of ourselves, but of the people that we represent. And so, I'm not in favor of the amendment for those reasons. But I do appreciate the concern of wanting people to be able to speak. And I'd say it's incumbent upon us to avail ourselves of our constituents and make ourselves as available as possible for these conversations that anyone feels they need to have.
Yeah, in my mind, this is an issue of public safety in the midst of a public health crisis, and public safety has to be our paramount concern here. We have to recognize that the President has declared a state of emergency, Governor Ivey has declared a state of emergency. We are set to locally declare a state of emergency. And the fact that we are in a state of emergency means that it is not business as usual, at least in the period of time that we are in the state of emergency. And again, while I appreciate the concerns, the goal here is actually let's just be straight up, is also to limit attendance at the meetings and to shorten the length of the meetings. It's simply not safe at this point for large groups of people to congregate. And while I do think that we need to be positive and level-headed and not panic. I do think that it's important that we're in a situation where we have to look out for each other, to watch out for each other. And this is one instance wherein we can do that. Any additional discussion on the Reddick amendment? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Jenkins?
No.
Councilmember Reddick?
Yes.
Councilmember Little?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
No.
Mayor Draper?
No. Any additional discussion on the motion to adopt the resolution?
Yeah, let me ask this. I think in 2011, there was an emergency resolution that was passed by the council that enjoined other cities working across city boundaries for emergency situation, things of that nature. If you all remember that, seen that?
Is it a tornado?
No? It didn't specifically say whether the tornado was evolving. I think it was some things were happening in that time that we passed, where
It's also modeled after League of Municipalities model. Mr. Lilly, it actually is addressed in here though, because it talks about providing service within the city limits and also without, which I think that's what addresses the intergovernmental cooperation aspect of it.
Yeah, the other thing is, as I stated before, I have problems. I mean, by what authority, what act giving us the authority now to do all these things? Because it states in here that you can hold a meeting with video conference and phone and things of that nature, or you can call one. Now, as far as the emergency situation, if we can do that, so we don't have to come in, so everyone should be accessible with their phone. And if there's an emergency need that exists, then you can pick up the phone and call us. So if we can do that by phone, so, okay, well, we can do that by phone, then we won't need to do giving you all the authority to do it, because I think the authority was, to me, if the council can't get together and do certain things, I mean, of course, if it's just an emergency that takes place and we can't be reached or something cannot happen, don't happen. I look, it's a wide array of power, authority given to you and the city manager to hire, get rid of it, do this, that, and the other. That is broad. I don't necessarily agree with everything that's taking place at the federal and state level in this time, because I think a lot of people are using it in a lot of ways to profit in money, and I hate to say that, but I think greed is sort of taking over in a lot of aspects on getting things done that has nothing to do with the coronavirus, COVID-19. And so I'm looking at this as I'm reading through what we have here, and it's my only concern is now if we can call and hold meetings on the phone, then if that is, I don't know what's the emergency. I mean, it's an emergency and what's taking place around here. Of course, the condition of the virus itself, but it's a lot of money to be spent, or the authority to spend to take action without counsel, being conferred and talked with. That concerns me.
Well, and look, that's a good point. Mr. Stokes and I have talked about this. Given that we can meet remotely, I mean, I think that every effort would be made to try to convene a meeting by telephone. There could be some instances wherein we could not potentially obtain a quorum within a short period of time. But I mean, I think that, unless it's just something that's got to be decided just right then, I mean, I think every effort can be made to try to convene a meeting wherein we could all call in. But this gives us the authority to do so in the event it's necessary. But I respect your point there. I get that.
I respect it as well. I would suggest that as rapidly evolving as the circumstances surrounding this there are often times where any one of us could be in a position where we cannot be, or more than one of us, where we could not be available even by phone. It just provides for, I have faith that our mayor and city manager will not abuse the authorities that are given in this, and that that prudent measures will be taken as necessary. But I believe that the bulk of this will be handled through council meetings and in the unusual events that we're unable to convene a quorum, that we can get this moving forward. So it's important not to delay on things of this nature.
And the other thing, just to let everybody know, in the event we do have a meeting wherein we all call to a number, with a code, I mean, our plan is to push that out audio, just like live streaming the video here, so that people can in real time be abreast as to what we're meeting about.
But the challenge I have with the whole thing is none of that's in writing. That we'll make every effort to have come together. We're telling people, yeah, we're giving ourselves power to, well, we're giving the mayor the power to do whatever, but just trust us that, you know, we wouldn't. And that's what I have a problem with.
Well, I mean, I commit to making every effort, as does Mr. Fox.
Yeah, it ain't right.
I have no doubt that our mayor can be trusted and that our city manager can be trusted. I have full faith in both of these fine individuals.
I have no doubt either, but as former President Reagan said, trust but verify. And I don't, I mean, I'm just saying that with everything that's evolving, I'm answering to constituents also. So I need to be in the loop on what's going on before some things are made. You know, if I can't be reached by a phone, and Lord knows I can be reached, I answer my phone 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, I may call somebody 2, 3. And if I'm in a meeting, if this is so important, if I'm in a meeting, I'm coming out, and I'm going to deal with this. But by what authority, you said this is the Alabama Emergency Management Act of 1955?
What it is too, you seen the governor's declaration today.
I didn't see the governor's declaration today.
Well, it's a proclamation today where, it's the same proclamation, let me get to the microphone,
Wherein she rescheduled the primary runoff to July 14th. It speaks to rescheduling the primary runoff election, to school closures, the Open Meetings Act, the procurement of emergency-related supplies, and reimbursement for certain state employees. The governor has plenary power in the declaration of emergency to essentially even override parts of legislative law, and that's what she's doing here. Just making the option available.
And she's
Respect the Open Meetings Act.
And so she's given the council authority to override some certain things that's preferred by law, and she has the authority to do that.
Yes.
I'm just like, where is that? What
We
code
got
is
it
that?
by email today.
I'm looking at I hadn't checked my email. I looked at what we received, and it's just moving a bit too fast for me right now. And,
Came by 11:35.
I was doing some work right there, doing some other things. But 11:35,
Yes, sir.
I didn't get that.
And then it's also,
It came from the Alabama League.
while the league doesn't have the authority, parts of what the resolution are premised upon was the email sent out on Monday by the league at 8 o'clock, just addressing some concerns that municipalities had. There was, it's even suggested in this email that the governor, well, here it is right here, it's like an email. It's code section 31-9-8, section A, subpart 5. You can just have my copy. I copied it.
But that's what I'm saying. I didn't get that 11:35 email. I see 11:14. Let's see, take action NLC request.
You know this.
11:14. Huh?
That's just
Take action. The National League of City. Oh, that's the National League of City. I said about Alabama League. You said it came from the Alabama League?
There's the copy right there. That's the email I'm talking about.
I know, but what I was trying to say is, I don't have an Alabama. They must have deleted my email. Did you get it? You get it 11? Or do I send it to you? Huh? I'm looking at 11:35. I don't have it. Billy, do you have that email?
I don't know.
It was sent to me at 8 o'clock on Monday morning.
Oh, 8 o'clock.
In advance, 2 days before the governor issued the proclamation. The governor issued the proclamation today.
See,
I received it as part of an e-blast from the Alabama League of Municipality.
I didn't get it. It blasted me out.
Just-
blast.
You may just have to re-sign back up for it.
Eh?
All you gotta do is subscribe to it.
They always send me. I get a lot of mail from the Alabama League. I just didn't get that. But the governor's authority. There's a whole lot stopping the public from talking, have an opportunity to talk, and when they're in here like this, I just don't believe that a few minutes, we said we want to get out of here as quick as possible. Like I said, if they're sitting here listening to us, and if they're contaminated and they're in here talking, it's in the air already. And I think 3 minutes, not 72 hours, or however long that stays in the air. And we hope and pray it never happens. I'm just concerned about, in local government, they can't talk with the state reps, they can't talk with the governor, they can't talk with the legislative individual. As stated in all our national meetings that we go to in the league meeting, it's the local government is where the leather meets the road, where the public day-to-day have an opportunity to see us coming in and out of the stores and out and about the street and come and see us in action at our meetings. And this is the lowest form of government in which they can communicate to. And so I think it's very important and prudent for them to have that opportunity. I don't care if we cut it to a minute, that they can have a question, because so many things is happening and being said on television and stuff, and the public, I mean, like I said, I just don't even watch television on it. It's something that's going on every day, 24/7, and it is driving people crazy, absolutely. And they should be able to come here and say something to us.
Hopefully the public will abide by the CDC's recommendations and stay home.
Well, I'm looking at the proclamation, I don't see anything where it said we don't. Well, here's my stance. We're telling the public, no, you can't speak. And then we're saying, trust us to let the mayor and city manager make all the decisions of the council. I can't support that. So one, you don't have a voice, and two, we just gotta trust that you wouldn't do anything. Nah, that's too far. Too far.
Any additional discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Jenkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Reddick?
No.
Councilmember Little?
No.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Mayor Draper?
Yes, the resolution passes. That concludes our business. I will now move that we stand in adjournment. Is there a second?
Second.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Jenkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Reddick?
Yes.
Councilmember Little?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Mayor Draper?
Yes, we are adjourned.
Jack.